Hello once again, my Plinko fam. Welcome to episode 2 of my brand new park series. In the last episode, we built this awesome little entrance right here for the new park, and I kinda teased about what this park was going to be. In fact, I even put a little bit of a hint in the title of the video itself. Not sure if anybody actually caught that, but doesn't seem like they did. So many people loved my Silverwood park series in Planet Coaster 1. And I wanted to do another park that was similar to that. Silverwood was a combination of Dollywood and Silver Dollar City, that country mountain kind of theming. It's what I kind of do best, honestly. Over the last few years, I've spent a ton of time in the Smokies and Dollywood, and it's one of my favorite places to visit, and I love the theming and everything about it there. But if you were thinking that this park is going to be Silverwood 2, you would have guessed wrong. I mean, not really anyway. It's kind of its own thing, but I guess technically it is the next step in the evolution of what I was aiming for with Silverwood. So I wanted to wait for this reveal until I got the signage and everything done for the entrance that would make this really stand out. But it's taken a little bit longer than expected, so I guess let's just go ahead and rip the band-aid off. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Rebaville. Okay, yeah, I know, not that big of a grand reveal, at least not like I wanted it to be. I have a much grander vision for the entrance and the signage, actually. In fact, this is what I was going for. As you can see, much better looking, and I wish I could have gotten it done for this reveal. I tried my hand at it myself, but I'm just not good at making signs. I asked my friend Raven to take a stab at it, and she said she would give it a try, but it might be a week or two. And I didn't want this park to get forgotten, so I just kind of did this temporary sign myself for the moment. Hopefully, she will have something made up for the next episode of this series that we can all just drop our jaws in amazement at. However, if anyone else out there would like to try to make the signs for me, you are more than welcome, because I know Raven's quite busy and probably tired of me always asking her for signs. Okay, so what is Rebaville? Well, this is a park that I've kind of had in my head for a long time now, even before Planet Coaster 2 was ever even announced. I almost started this park in the first game, but just never did get around to it. I envision this as Reba McEntire's version of Dollywood, a theme park she can call her own. I'm surprised this actually isn't even a thing, honestly. Reba is just as beloved of a country music star as Dolly Parton is. Me personally, I honestly prefer her music. I'm not much of a country fan, but Reba's got some great songs. Oh, and she's a redhead. I do love the redheads. So I'm just kind of looking at this park as being, what if Reba decided she wanted to have a theme park in her name? And that is what we are going to build. So this video is more than just the reveal of the park name and theme, since I did botch that. I wanted to do something a little bit more noteworthy. So let's do the first ride of the park. Here you can see I've already drawn out a little bit of a rough draft of a layout for the ride using the terrain paint tools, but let's jump to the time-lapse build now. So I kind of want Rebaville to be my masterpiece, and one of the things I've always envisioned in this park was something I tried to do in Silverwood, but the vision didn't really pan out the way that I wanted it to. I wanted a really cool river rapids, like right at the front of the park. The one I did for Silverwoods was nice, sure, but this one is going to be my magnum opus. The best river rapids I have ever made. Extremely detailed and realistic. It's going to take me a lot of time to complete, and today's video is definitely not going to be the finished ride. Pretty much just scratching the surface, honestly. I just wanted to get started on it, and this is just going to be a rough draft of a layout and most likely will not be the final version. Going forward, there will be multiple videos updating the progress of the ride as I sort of work on it in layers. A bit here, a bit there, while I also mix in other builds throughout the park until it's complete. I don't want to keep doing video after video of the same ride build, as that will get stale, and I feel you guys will lose interest pretty quick if I was to do that. I already have a ton of ideas for this park that I want to incorporate, so there will be plenty to do and plenty to watch. I'm taking inspiration from quite a few different rapids rides, but mostly Grizzly River Run at California Adventure. I want it to be themed really well. Maybe not quite the level of Disney, but not exactly Six Flags cheap. This is going to be one of those rides that the park would spend quite a bit of money on. So for now, I'm going to shut up and leave you with the time-lapse build. Feel free to skip forward past it though if the time-lapse stuff isn't your cup of tea. Should be right around the 13-minute mark. So I will talk to you guys again at that point.
I walk 100 miles, but I got nowhere to go. Back in my time, I was a kid that had a head full of dreams. I'm now a drifter with a pack of cigarettes in my jeans. I'm a one-man circus as I'm walking the line. I lost a Chevy tank of gas on Interstate 69. I had the roof down, singing with my head in the sun. I never had a job, I just had plenty of fun. I'm on my way, going straight back down the road. Ain't seen the sun coming up for a day. I got a ton on my mind, I can't find no words today. I'll be kicking back some old town sunny day. So I said to the man, well, I think it was Joe. I said I ain't got much, but I got somewhere to go. I got a case full of clothes and a bottle of Jack. He said, okay, sir, and climbed up into the back. He asked me where we were heading. I said, I really don't care. I'm just a drifter and I'm happy when I'm heading nowhere. I got 16 bucks, but Joe, you ain't got a dime. But it doesn't really matter when we're just killing time. I'm on my way, going straight back down the road. Ain't seen the sun coming up for a day. I got a ton on my mind, I can't find no words today. I'll be kicking back some old town sunny day.
Alrighty, welcome back guys, and for those of you who actually enjoy the time-lapse stuff, hope you enjoyed my music choices. I'm not sure about them, but honestly I kind of like that little bit of like country dubstep. It fits in with the theme, but also adds a little bit of a punch. Honestly, do you guys prefer snappier, more exciting music in the time-lapse builds, or do you prefer something a little more calm and peaceful and relaxing? Let me know for future videos going forward. Anywho, this is the rough draft layout of my little rapids ride for Rebaville, what will become one of the park's big signature rides, kind of like how Timber Mountain Log Flume is for Knott's Berry Farm. I made a couple of changes from what you see in the time-lapse, mostly with the lift hill and the drop locations right here. I really like this layout for the most part, however, I'm sure you guys will agree this ride is just big. It's about a 7-minute journey throughout its entire course, and a lot of that is this middle section right over here where I have it going underneath of the entrance path and then turning around in this big bend before going into a tunnel network and bring it out over here to the lift hill. This was something I really wanted to do in my original vision, but I just don't feel like it actually works in reality. I've wanted to do something like this ever since I saw some concept art for a Rango themed park area years ago. It's just always stuck with me in my head, and I wanted to make something similar to that. I don't think this area ever really got built, and if it did, I don't think it ended up exactly like the concept art. Sometimes you can have a really great concept, but getting it right in the final build just doesn't work. I think this is one of those cases. If I could speed up the rafts a little bit, it might not be so bad, but even turning down the friction does nothing for the water speed. There's also not a lot really going on that's exciting in this section of the ride either, as it just kind of meanders around here. And what I wanted to do right here was to try to put in the park's carousel, like right here, with another bridge going across over here. So you would have, like, once you're into the park, you can go straight forward, you can go to the left over this way into the park, and then you can go over to the right, which would be where the entrance is for the ride itself. But honestly, there's just not enough space here to kind of make the carousel work over here. I'd have to make the turnaround even larger, and that would make the ride even longer. I think the best course of action is to just cut this part out completely, and instead have it turn around towards the lift hill, like right about here, before we get to the park's entrance. So it would actually turn this way and then bend around over here. What do you guys think though? Is that the right call, or should I keep it how it is now? So I'll go over a couple of the sections and elements that I'll be adding around the ride layout to really make it pop in the future. So first of all, our station. Obviously we just have an entrance and an exit platform right here. I'm thinking about maybe doing kind of the circular platforms and having it spin, which is really something cool we can do now with Planet Coaster 2 using the rotating platforms and all that. Not really sure how it's going to work out for this particular ride though, since we do have such a big section here just for the station building. I really do just wish that we had the actual option to have a ride station like that in the actual game itself for the rafts. I doubt that is ever going to happen though. Alright, so moving on along down the layout, you can see I've kind of got it just a little bit lower down here than it is up here. I sloped the ride so that it starts higher and then gets lower as it goes through. So it's going to kind of go around a couple of curves here before getting into this rapids area right here, which you'll actually be able to see from outside of the park right here. That I think will be a kind of a cool element for people who are just getting to the park before they even actually ever get in. After coming out of that bend, I wanted it to kind of snake around over here before it makes another turn going this way. And again, I've got this section of the ride is just lower than the uppermost part right there. And what I wanted here was I wanted to kind of have this section where the water is flowing out of the top part here and down into the lower part across some rocks. Not really like a waterfall area per se, but just more like a rocky overflow section. I've seen little sections like this on other river rapids rides. I want to say like Grizzly River Run, Mystic River Falls at Silver Dollar City, I think has something kind of like what I want to do. Also, the Calico River Rapids at Knott's Berry definitely has a little section like this. I think it'll just be a neat little interaction between where the two, if we time it just right, we'll have the raft down here, the raft up here. I think it'll be neat. Then, of course, we're going to go underneath of the entrance to the park right here, which, like I said, I think what we're probably going to do is just take this whole section out right here and then instead just have it turn right here. But it will go underneath of there and then kind of come around through here and then into this little dark section here, which for some odd reason is now closed in. Not sure what happened there, but I think maybe I was flattening something out and I flattened maybe just a little too much. Oh well, it's fine because, like I said, I think we're just going to get rid of this altogether anyway. And then we'll come over here to this little lift hill right here, which is going to take us up the side of the mountain. And then that's going to drop you into another bit of rapids right here. Coming around this bend into another bend, and this is going to be pretty much ripped straight from Grizzly River Runs right here, where it's going to go over this like wooded section right here, like timber and all that looks like it's just kind of falling apart, through a little bit more rapids right here before finally hitting the drop that will take us underneath of this little bridge section right here down into the final turn right here. So we got some rapids right in here as well. It comes off that pretty good speed, I think, to make that turn, and then into the final turn back into our station. Somewhere along the ride, I'm also going to throw in a water tower that kind of crashes down and splashes you with water. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put that just yet. Maybe up at the top, and maybe that's maybe up in here, and then as it falls and the water splashes out and flows, that's kind of what pushes you down the hill maybe. But I don't know about that idea. Maybe over here instead, or maybe in the final turn right here. Maybe we could do it there. Don't really know just yet where I'm gonna put that, but I am definitely gonna have that somewhere along the track here. Now, theming wise, I am taking a lot of inspiration from what I consider to be some of the best river rapids that are out there. Grizzly River Run, Calico River at Knott's, Mystic River Falls, as well as maybe some ideas for some stuff from other little ones, things like Dollywoods, of course, which honestly is one of the best river rapids rides I've been on, not counting Mystic River Falls, because to me they're two different kinds of rides. Dollywood Smoky Mountain River Rampage is your actual typical kind of river rapids rides, while Mystic River Falls has that drop on it that Intamin is doing. I just honestly, I feel like it's a completely different ride type than the regular river rapids like we have here in the game. But Mystic River Falls, I think, has some awesome theming to it. The rock work and all that, just the layout's really, really good. I love it. So, you know, that, Calico River, like I said, Grizzly River Run, these are all things that are going to heavily inspire the station, the layout, all the foliage and rock work and all that. All is going to be inspired from those rides for the most part. Another thing I want to try to do is currently we have these kind of somewhat gentle slopes downward throughout the ride. But something I noticed from watching ride POVs and literally being at Dollywood and watching the rapids there is instead of like gently sloping downward, there are also tiny little drops throughout the course of those rides. I want to try to add a few of those in if I can, but the way that the track is made for this ride, I don't know if it's possible. Something I'm going to play around with though and see if I can do it. Currently, the track sections with this ride are just a little too long and very restricted on what you can do with them. Okay, so what do you guys think of the Rapids layout? I hope you like it, but I am open to changes, and especially if you have any thoughts on some cool elements we can kind of throw into it or around the actual layout itself. Like I said, I want to do the best river rapids I've ever made. Maybe one of the best, most realistic ever created in the game if I can. That's my goal, and I think with help from you guys, I can achieve that. I don't want it to just be a carbon copy of an actual ride. I want it to have its own uniqueness. I want to change the game when it comes to river rapids attractions. Nothing outlandish or anything though, and unrealistic. Oh, and I don't actually have a name for the ride yet either. Maybe something like Wild River Expedition or Runaway Rapids. Something that might be inspired from a Reba song, or maybe not. It doesn't necessarily have to be that closely tied to her music. I'm very open to suggestions. So that about wraps things up. I will be back in the park again soon and building some other awesome stuff and gradually completing our little rapids ride as we go along. Also, now you guys know what the actual park is. The secret's out. Definitely wish I could have made a much cooler reveal though, but I just couldn't wait any longer. But I mean, now that you guys do know the name and the theme of the park, maybe it's actually given you some thoughts and ideas on what the park could be. In fact, I would love to hear your thoughts on the park and what you would hope to actually see in Rebaville as far as like attractions, restaurants, anything like that. What do you think the park could really use to set it apart? My goal is to try to keep this park close to the ideals and guiding principles of Dollywood and Silver Dollar City. I'm not going to go all Magic Mountain or Cedar Point and just build coaster after coaster after coaster. I want to keep the vibe much like, you know, the way Dollywood actually is. Fun, family friendly, thrills for the enthusiasts to bring them in, but most importantly, beautiful, highly themed, and well maintained. I definitely hope you guys will stick around throughout the series though. Like I said, I have lots of big ideas to try to bring to life in this park. So until next time, wherever you guys are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.